Seven.
Over here.
Seven.
Seven.
Over here.
Look here.
Seven.
Look here.
Seven. Look here.
Seven over here.
Seven.
Over here. Seven.
Smile.
Movies love to sell us a neat little package. The good guys are handsome and virtuous, the bad guys get the boot, but what if the hero's cape is just a poorly tailored disguise? What if the good guy we're rooting for is actually the one causing all of the chaos? Buckle up, because it's time to flip the script and expose the dark side of some of your favorite movies. Spoiler alert, the villain's just been hiding in plain sight all along. I'm Seven McAllister for Seven Entertainment. Let's take a look at 7 movie heroes that were really villains. And of course, spoiler alert for Mrs. Doubtfire, A Christmas Story, School of Rock, Pitch Perfect, Big Daddy, Wedding Crashers, and My Best Friend's Wedding. And I legitimately love most of these movies, so don't get too mad at me when I rough them up a little bit. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please do us a solid, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and just give a sweet little nudge to that notification bell. Number 1. World's Worst Dad. Now, Mrs. Doubtfire might be sold to you as a heartwarming family comedy, but if you actually break down Daniel Hillard's actions, you'll realize it's less about love and more about one man's deeply unhinged, felony-level commitment to avoid becoming a responsible adult. Daniel's introduced as a lovable goof who quits his job in the first scene, throws an unapproved, animal-filled house party for his kid's birthday, and then acts shocked when his wife files for divorce. But instead of, say, I don't know, getting a stable job, following the custody agreement, and showing some personal growth, he decides the healthiest course of action is to disguise himself as a 60-year-old Scottish nanny and infiltrate his ex-wife's home. Because nothing says trustworthy father like full-scale identity fraud. And let's not forget, the guy lies to his kids every day, gaslights them into thinking he's Mrs. Doubtfire, and actively sabotages his ex's new relationship. Not because Stu is a bad guy, no. Because Stu has the audacity to exist and try to make his ex-wife happy. Daniel nearly kills the man via allergic reaction in a restaurant, all while smugly thinking he's protecting his family. At the end, sure, everyone forgives him because it's the 90s and apparently restraining orders didn't exist in family comedies, but make no mistake, this isn't a feel-good tale of dad reconnecting with his kids. It's a psychological thriller where the charming antagonist happens to be played by Robin Williams. If Mrs. Doubtfire's made the day, half the film would be in court and the other half would be in an episode of Dateline. Number 2, A Christmas Horror Story. For decades, A Christmas Story has been sold to us as a warm, nostalgic look at childhood in the 1940s, a whimsical tale of one plucky little youngster who just wants a Red Ryder BB rifle. But when you really break it down, Ralphie Parker is less lovable scamp and more scheming agent of chaos. The kid spends the entire movie obsessing over a weapon like he's some kind of Norman Rockwell version of Taxi Driver. He manipulates adults with his doe-eyed innocence. When the teacher gives out a theme assignment, Ralphie doesn't just write it, he weaponizes it as propaganda for his own BB agenda. He hangs Flick out to dry when he's stuck to a flagpole. He's terrible to Randy, the true hero of the movie, and he absolutely snitches on Schwartz when it came down to the whole fudge thing. And then there's the infamous Scott Farkas incident. Sure, the movie paints Scott as a local bully, a freckled, coonskin cap-wearing terror who deserves to be taken down a peg. And yeah, Ralphie finally snapping and beating him into the snow is cathartic on the surface, but let's be real. Ralphie goes absolutely feral. This isn't some quick stand-up-for-yourself moment. It's a full-blown primal rage blackout. Boy's got a fighting style like a rabid raccoon, and yeah, Scott did deserve it, but you can already see some production company working on a spin-off, like a Wicked-style retelling where we learn Scott only bullied kids because of an unstable home life and a chronic vitamin deficiency. Meanwhile, Ralphie is recast as the entitled golden boy who never faced consequences for his violent outbursts. By the end, Ralphie gets his prize, shoots his eye out, sort of, and learns absolutely nothing. Lesson of A Christmas Story isn't about family or the magic of the holidays. It's about how a charismatic troublemaker can spin their narrative so well, you walk away thinking that they're the victim. Number 3, do we really like him? On the surface, School of Rock is an uplifting story about the power of music to inspire young minds. But if you scratch a little bit deeper, you'll realize it's also the story of an unemployed, delusional man who commits identity theft from his best friend, endangers minors, and somehow walks away from it, a folk hero. Let's start with the obvious. Dewey Finn is a grown man who impersonates his roommate to steal a substitute teaching gig. That's not a cute little mix-up, that's a felony. And he doesn't just phone it in and hand out worksheets. No. He hijacks an entire classroom to form his own personal backup band for a Battle of the Bands competition. He's not trying to nurture talent, he's trying to win rent money. These kids, they're basically an unpaid road crew. Let's talk about the safety concerns: field trips without permission slips, teaching minors how to lie to their parents, smuggling them into a performance venue to perform for a bunch of drunk adults. It's a miracle Child Protective Services didn't come kicking down the door halfway through the first act, although actually, the Battle of the Bands weirdly takes place during the day, so maybe the adults weren't drinking at all. But yes, the movie tries to frame it as, look at Dewey changing these kids' lives, but the only reason those kids are finding themselves is because Dewey refuses to follow literally any professional boundary. If anyone else pulled this stunt in real life, they'd be in handcuffs before the encore. In the end, the school, the parents, even the cops just kind of let it slide because, hey, the song Zach wrote, Teacher's Pet, it is legitimately great. Moral of the story is basically crime is fine as long as it rocks. So sure, Dewey is charming, funny, and gets a killer group performance out of a bunch of shy kids, but he's also a manipulative freeloader whose entire end of the credit school was built on fraud. Number 4, here comes Treble. At first glance, Becca Mitchell from Pitch Perfect comes off as the quirky, mashup-loving heroine who shakes up the traditional a cappella scene. But take a closer listen and you'll hear the sour notes beneath her Rebel with a Cause act. Becca storms into the Bellas and acts perpetually annoyed, snapping at teammates who are literally trying to welcome her, and treats every group rehearsal like an inconvenient chore, even though she has zero real a cappella experience. I know she doesn't want to be there, but hey man, be cool. Her innovation amounts to remixing songs, just like the Treblemakers already do, but I guess with a fresher playlist. She goes into business for herself during a live performance, which really had the potential to throw everybody off. And let's not forget her romance with Jesse. Becca's emotionally closed off, she's inconsistent, and frankly kind of cold. She pushes him away until when Jesse offers her support, she throws up walls that would make Fort Knox jealous. And when she gets literally arrested, she gets mad at him for contacting her father to bail her out, a situation where nobody else was helping her and Jesse had no other way to free her. And don't get me started on how the Bellas only got to the finals because of that one team cheated, and they only beat the Treblemakers after they'd lost their best singer. And who are these people commentating to during a singing competition? Oh, and the riff off, she did go into the song It Feels Like the First Time with the word "it's" from No Diggity, total grounds for the Bells' elimination. And was the team, the Madonna team, even eliminated? Sorry. I take Pitch Perfect shockingly seriously, and Becca was the best, but sometimes she was the worst. Number 5, Daddy Issues. Big Daddy, that 1999 Adam Sandler classic where a man-child accidentally adopts a kid and somehow convinces us all that immaturity is a parenting style. The movie's charm used to be all about goofy antics, heartwarming moments, and Sandler's signature goofy but lovable shtick. Sonny Koufax's big moment of growing up in Big Daddy conveniently starts the moment he drags a kid into his chaotic life, not because he's suddenly a responsible adult, but because he wants to impress his ex-girlfriend Vanessa. Yeah, that's right, the whole accidental adoption is less about genuine parenting and more about a desperate PR move to prove that he's not just a lazy slacker anymore. Spoiler alert, taking in a kid without a plan doesn't exactly scream mature and ready for commitment. But hey, in the world of rom-com logic, throwing a kid into the mix is apparently the quickest way to win a woman's heart. And he's the kind of guy who treats childcare like an extended party weekend, regularly shirking responsibility, skipping work, and dragging a kid into his immature chaos. And sure, the adults around him try to keep the ship afloat, but the real question is, why are we supposed to cheer for this mess? The cute hijinks, they often come off as reckless. And yeah, Sonny eventually does turn it around, but he should be in jail for kidnapping, fraud, child endangerment, probably like a dozen other things. Instead, we get a warm, fuzzy ending where everyone hugs it out. The emotional payoff rewards bad behavior and suggests that maturity is optional if you've got enough charm, and apparently a great Scuba Steve impersonation. Number 6, Crash Landing. All right, let's get this out of the way early. Wedding Crashers is awesome if we ignore the fact that Owen Wilson's wide-eyed, aw shucks, wow routine helps us ignore the laws of consent, emotional maturity, and basic human decency. His character, John Beckwith, spends the movie lying his way into strangers' most intimate life events and manipulating women's emotions. That is, until he actually falls in love with Rachel McAdams' character Claire, who is engaged. But here's the trick. The film knows that if John was just a garden-variety romantic stalker, the audience might start feeling queasy, so it stacks the deck by making John's rival in love, Bradley Cooper's character Sack Lodge, yes, Sack Lodge, an obnoxious, sports-obsessed man-baby who treats his fiancée like an accessory. And just to hammer home that point, they up the stakes by having him cheat on her, the old Glenn Guglia maneuver. The cheat code. Sack is so cartoonishly awful that you find yourself rooting for John, not because John is actually a good guy, but because the alternative is, Sack. It's a bait and switch. The movie doesn't redeem John. It just makes the competition so much worse that you'll accept him as the romantic lead. Strip away Sack's villain edit, though, and you're left with a man whose big romantic gesture involves crashing another wedding to confess his love in public, because nothing says healthy relationship like starting things off with a public spectacle and zero boundaries. So no, John's not a knight in shining armor. He's just the lesser of two very weird evils. Honestly, poor Claire should be running away from both of those psychos. Number 7, With Friends Like These. At first glance, my best friend's wedding is Wedding Crashers in a way. Julia Roberts is Julianne, the quirky, love-struck woman who's determined to sabotage her best friend Michael's wedding and win him back. She's sneaky, manipulative, and downright ruthless in her mission, lying, almost getting Michael fired, setting Kimberly up for a karaoke disaster, but here's the twist that sets it apart from your average rom-com chaos. By the end, Julianne actually gets it. She realizes that she's been playing the villain all along. Kimberly isn't a lying jerk. She may not be her cup of tea, but she clearly loves Michael very much. And once Julianne sees the light, she makes the mature, if bittersweet choice to step back and let her best friend marry the woman he loves. Unlike Wedding Crashers, where the lead characters never quite face up to their selfishness and the other third of the love triangle being a total monster, My Best Friend's Wedding is a rare breed of romantic comedy that calls its protagonist out and lets her grow. Julianne Roberts' Julianne might start as the bad guy, but she ends the movie with a moment of real self-awareness and respect, which is probably why the movie holds up so well. That, and the Say a Little Prayer scene, is the absolute best. Well, there's our list, and I leave out any other movie heroes that were really the villains. If so, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tippity-tap that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Seven McAllister for 7 Entertainment saying bye-bye.